I'll put the link on the chat right now. It is in the same site. Yeah. So basically, you basically run ePPF on every node, right? Along with the agents, what you may typically have, right? This particular diagram describes that, right? That you basically have the APBF running on the nodes, and you collect the logs, right, with respect to the applications, with respect to your Kubernetes cluster, along with the network and other stuff there, right? Because with APBF, we can kind of log everything, whatever you would wish. So what we're trying to do is if somebody runs wget command from my pod, I want an alert so that I actually know when somebody and which particular pod is doing that. All right. So this is pretty interesting, which is a good use case, which I can see that if ePBF and logging can really come together. And that is what I think even other companies like Sysdig and other thing also doing is they're implementing ePBF along with the logging solution what they have. And what I see going forward, logging and machine learning would come together, and it can be the live or offline. It is going to really be a lot of useful to kind of get the issues if there are any. So that is about logging, which I was mentioning in my, I mean, when I was kind of logged out there. And about the Jaeger, right? So I have used in couple of times where we do a distributed tracing, and it has been really useful because you can actually pinpoint at what point or at what particular function call or at what particular microservice the issue is coming. So I'm not sure whether you covered or not, Rajesh, but what happens is, let's say you are running an e-commerce website, right? And in the e-commerce website, there are different microservices you have. For example, payment, logistics, or order or whatever, right? Now, let's say a customer comes to a website. Now, the customer is going to interact with different microservices. Like customer would go and look at the catalog, make an order, make the payment, and so on. Now, let's say if there is an issue at the order service, but as a user, you're going to have the feel the issue in the entire site per se, right? Like site may be having issue, right? So how do you pinpoint that? Okay, only the issue is happening with the order service. So what happens with the distributed tracing that as somebody comes to your site, we generate a unique session ID for that, and that ID stays together throughout different microservices.
Yeah.
And if I can trace that particular request along with the multiple services, right, I can pinpoint at which particular microservice is causing the problem for me. And that is
Yeah.
what the Jaeger is going to tell you that. Can you go back to that Jaeger diagram, Rajesh?
Yeah.
Um,
Just
and yeah, and
one.
you can see that there are spans are there. Not here. Jaeger, that what you were opening earlier, distributed
I
tracing.
closed that.
Correct. So if you just go to Jaeger and you just go to images there, you can get it. Just search images on Google Images only, you'll get it. Yeah. So there you can see that there would be spans would be there. So for example, if you go to one example here,
Yeah.
um,
With Docker
you can
and
go to
run.
Google only and then search images there at the tab there, right? You'll find it. You go
Yeah,
back to
and the
Google and click on the images there, right? You will find one
yeah.
example.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
You can
Good
click on the
one.
second one, maybe correct. Yeah.
This one will be
No, no.
helpful.
Whichever one you want to, but doesn't matter. Yeah, that's fine.
Uh,
Yeah. So like as you can see there, there are multiple spans. Like you can see there's a big green at the top, right? That's a complete span we call it, right? And then we have a smaller thing, right? So we can actually pinpoint exactly at what span the issue was coming. So that was I tried with Jaeger. So that was really helpful at one of the use case which I had. Yeah.
mm, great.
Yeah. Go ahead, Rajesh, for the remaining part. Sorry, I hijacked your discussion.
That's fine. That's fine. It's a collaborative thing as far as we are. Uh, so this is useful stuff, right? It's an important thing to get that noted. So there are other couple of people using this Agar tool as well for their tracing. One of the customer I was hearing that this customer, it's a payment open banking based customer. So they are using Yaga for their tracing. So you can see it's widely used. Good one. Okay, I was willing to show. There is a diagram. I'm missing that, but I'll post to the community through Nipendra if I found later. It's fine. I'm coming back to the book now. Okay, where are we now? Okay. So we were talking about Jaeger tool, and that's a part of instrumentation, instrumenting services for distributed tracing. That's what the thing I was talking about. There is a Zipkin. I think. Sorry to go here again. There is a. I wanted to show this. I don't want to miss this particular stuff. Uh, yeah, so, very good. So that's not the agar. I was seeing this a Zipkin tool on how it is injecting the trace ID. If you see, this is a user code. There is a get call, and trace instrumentation is happening, which is Zipkin or Yaga or anything like that, and it just records the information and do something, and finally it does the injection to the trace ID, like trace ID and the span ID. Span ID is a short-lived one once for the service, because it is going to hop for different service. Usually the tracing would have a lot of span IDs. So trace ID is gonna stay same, but there will be a lot of span IDs. So the point I'm making that is this will inject a trace ID, as you see. When it is returning the result, there will be a trace ID added along with the other data. So this will be very useful. And if you send the data which says a list of people who is customers for Monzo, and that would also have this trace ID. The open banking customer, whoever it may be, receiving this will get this list also with the trace ID. So when they have any issue, they will use this trace ID so that to contact the relevant team or to troubleshoot. This is how it works. Hope this will be helpful, and I will send this link. Yeah, this is what I wanted to show actually. That's not Yagar. I was looking for the similar one at Yagar, but it is not showing that. So I took this one as a. I'll show you here. Sorry for the repeated window here. I have one machine at the moment, so that's why. Okay, hope that was helpful, isn't it? Or is it just an additional unnecessary effort? Please let me know. Am I audible?
Yeah, please continue. Yeah.
Oh yeah, great. Thank you. Okay, so this is all about talking how to initialize the tracer, all those things. We have seen that sequence diagram, which is more than sufficient here. They were talking about the spans. We spoke about that. What is span? And it will hop around different services. That is called span, and that's how the context is propagated. Propagation happening through the trace ID. That's how the context propagating through multiple services. So in summary, we were discussing about what it takes to build a production grade application, what are the best practices, all those things, including the logging and other stuff in the beginning, the last week and this week. This week, especially, we were talking about logging, and we were talking about configurations and how to handle the request limits, all those things last week. That concludes the chapter now. Any queries on this chapter? Otherwise, we have another 20 plus minutes here. We can jump to supply chain.
There's one question in the chat right now. Any one a good suggestion for Python lib for tracing? So anybody has any
Python
experience?
lib for
Yeah.
okay tracing. There is that's the Zipkin and Yager is open source tracer. That's language agnostic. There is there is no reason for users Python specific tracing. Is there any need for that?
No, I think the question is, so what are Zipkin and Jaeger are the tools to collect the uh, traces, correct?
Yeah.
But how do you generate traces? I think the question is around that. So, for
Okay.
example, you have a Python application and you want to basically enable the logging for thing, right? So I think there are now, I think open telemetry would be the right way to go about it, right? So because everything is now coming under open telemetry. So I think we covered that particular part briefly. So
Yeah.
that development has happened recently. That open telemetry is kind of. Can you just open the site of open telemetry, Rajesh, if that's okay?
Yeah.
So OpenTelemetry is coming together to kind of standardize the logging, tracing, I mean the entire observability stack there, right? That is coming under the OpenTelemetry. Um,
For
so
Python's
logging,
thing.
monitoring, and tracing, correct? That is there. So I believe we should be using this particular solution now. So they have the Python library. So I think that would be the way to go. And if you have open telemetry, uh, then basically you can actually have the forwarders or basically say exporters to different endpoints. So what is happening is, see that if there is no standard way of collecting the logs, metrics, and monitoring data, it becomes very challenging for the customers or end user to move between different tools. And that is why the open telemetry is coming together, that we have a standard way of collecting these signals, and then these signals can be consumed by different tools. So you may not be bound by just by specific tools. So, for example, today I'm using sysdic there, and tomorrow I may want to go to something else. And if I'm open telemetry compliant, then I can easily do it. That's the whole idea about open telemetry project, that it kind of combines all the things together. So even if you want to look right now, I think OpenTelemetry is the way to kind of look for any of these observability points and then build on top of it. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. So now I think, of course, we have to kind of go for the next chapter. But I think there was one point of discussion, that do we need to look at any other content other than the what is there in this particular book? So I just actually went in detail in this particular book. I think this book more or less covers the thing which is required. Um, but if not, then there is one more Manning book, which is kind of giving few chapters free with the help of Kasri. There is a site, or there's a what is it? I don't know. But if you can open that link, you can find that you can download the first three chapter of a book. And but I think whatever in this book also it's sufficient. So I think we can continue with this book itself and look at other points from other sources.